I never expected to spend Christmas Eve alone in my childhood home staring at a note from my mom that broke my world apart. My name is Avery Quinn. I'm 30, a financial analyst in Denver, and until last week I thought I had everything on track. I had a solid job, a plan to launch my startup, $25,000 saved for it. But when I stepped into my parents' house in Boulder, Colorado, expecting holiday lights, my mom's pecan pie, I found a cold, empty house, a scribbled note on a grocery receipt. It sat against a dusty coffee pot in the kitchen. Avery, we had to use your money to help Ethan. He's in serious trouble. We're at Tessa's for the holidays. Sorry. Sorry, like they'd taken my scarf, not my entire startup fund. My dream was gone. I stood there, the paper trembling in my hand, and instead of crying, I laughed. It was a sharp, bitter sound that filled the silent kitchen. I'd always known my family would pull something like this, but it hurt more than I could have imagined. My mom, Lila Harper, my dad, Owen Reed, had always put my younger brother, Ethan Cole, first, no matter how many times he messed up. Now they'd crossed a line I didn't think they'd dare. Let me back up a little. I'd flown into Denver from my downtown apartment, rented a car, driven 40 minutes to Boulder for Christmas. I hadn't been home in a year. Work was brutal, and I'd poured everything into my savings. That $25,000 was my ticket to a financial app I'd been designing for 2 years. I'd told my mom about it on our weekly calls, proud I was close to making it real. She'd sounded happy, asked about my plans, and I trusted her enough to keep a joint account for emergencies in case something happened to her or Dad. I never thought she'd use it to wipe me out. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. No Christmas lights, no wreath on the door, nothing like the festive chaos of my childhood. The garage was empty, my parents' pickup was gone. I grabbed my suitcase, my breath fogging in the cold, let myself in with my old key. The house was freezing like the heat hadn't been on for days. Mom, Dad, I called, flipping on the hall light. No answer. I moved through the living room, my footsteps loud in the quiet, saw no tree, no presents. My stomach twisted. Something was wrong. I checked my phone. No missed calls, no texts, even though I'd messaged Mom from the airport to say I was coming. I reached the kitchen, found the note. I read it twice, hoping I'd misread, but the words stayed the same. They'd taken my money for Ethan. No explanation. Just sorry. My hands clenched the paper, crumpling it. Ethan? My 27-year-old brother had always been the favorite. He got new sneakers while I wore hand-me-downs. His car repairs paid while I worked summers for college books. He'd bounced between jobs, apartments, always landing back home when things fell apart, and my parents bailed him out every time. I'd put myself through college, paid off loans, built a career all on my own, while Ethan coasted on their help. Now this. I called my mom. Straight to voicemail. My dad's phone did the same. Ethan's rang a few times, then cut off. I stood alone in the kitchen, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead, and that laugh came again, not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. I'd known they favored him, but taking my money, my future without asking, that was a new low. I opened my banking app. Fingers shaking, saw it, a withdrawal of $25,000 2 days ago from the joint account. They hadn't waited for me to arrive. They'd planned this knowing I'd walk into an empty house. I sank into a chair, the note still in my hand, tried to make sense of it. What trouble was Ethan in that needed $25,000? I knew he'd been struggling. He'd lost his last job for not showing up, and Mom said he was back in his old room. But this felt bigger. Maybe drugs? Or worse. I wandered the house looking for answers, my anger growing. The fridge had ketchup packets, a half-eaten yogurt. Bills piled on the counter, some marked urgent. In the living room, a photo frame was knocked over us at my high school graduation, Ethan front and center, me barely visible. That summed it up. Upstairs, Ethan's room was a wreck. Clothes scattered, empty energy drink cans, a faint smoky smell I didn't want to think about. On his desk, I found a bar receipt, a phone number scrawled on it, a business card for Vince, No last name, just a number collections. My gut said this wasn't credit cards. Ethan was in deep, and my parents thought my money was the fix. In their bedroom, half the closet was empty like they'd packed fast. On Dad's nightstand, I saw heart pills prescribed a month ago. That hit hard. He hadn't told me he was sick. Another lie. Back in the kitchen, my head spinning, I called my best friend Kylie Brooks, who'd known my family forever. They did what she said, voice sharp. Avery, that's theft. I paced the linoleum floor note in my pocket. It's a joint account, technically legal, but it feels like betrayal. Kylie didn't sugarcoat it. Your parents have enabled Ethan for years. Confront them now. I said they weren't answering. She sighed. Then go to Tessa's. Don't let them dodge you. I hung up, anger turning to cold clarity. I wasn't going to cry or fall apart. I'd worked too hard for that. I called the bank, left a message with their after-hours line about unauthorized withdrawals, froze my other accounts just in case. As I sat staring at the note, my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. I'm sorry it's complicated. Please don't hate Mom and Dad. My jaw tightened. Complicated, his excuse. I didn't reply. I needed answers, and I wasn't waiting. I grabbed my keys, ready to drive to Tessa's in Fort Collins, an hour away, but stopped. Not yet. I needed more information before facing them. Ethan's text was a start, but not enough. I opened my laptop, checked my banking app, dug through transaction history. Then I found its smaller withdrawals from the joint account over the past month, totaling $5,000 before the big $25,000 hit. They'd been draining me for weeks, and I hadn't noticed. I closed the laptop, hands shaking, betrayal sinking in. This wasn't a mistake, it was planned. I was done being their fix. I sat in my parents' kitchen, the laptop still open, my hands still shaking from finding those smaller withdrawals, $5,000 siphoned from my joint account over the past month on top of the $25,000 hit. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was a plan, and I was done being their pawn. I needed to know what Ethan had gotten himself into, why my mom and dad thought my life savings was their solution. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through my contacts, hesitated over Tessa's number. Driving to Fort Collins to confront them felt right, but I needed more than anger to face this. I started digging through the house again, looking for anything that could explain Ethan's mess. In the living room, I found a locked drawer in my dad's desk, unusual, since he never locked anything. I jimmied it open with a paperclip, my hands steady despite the adrenaline. Inside were bank statements, not in my parents' names, but Ethan's. Pages showed overdraft fees, cash advances, transactions to sketchy-sounding companies, Blue Star Solutions, Rocky Point Ventures. One statement had a handwritten note in my mom's cursive: Ethan's debt urgent. My stomach churned. This wasn't just a bad job or a rough patch. Ethan was in deep, and it looked like drugs, not gambling or some bar tab. I stuffed the papers in my bag, my mind racing. What kind of debt needs $30,000 to fix? I was about to call Kylie again when my phone lit up, my mom's number. My heart pounded, but I answered, keeping my voice flat. Hello? Lila's voice came through, shaky, almost unrecognizable. Avery, thank God you answered. We're in trouble, real trouble. No apology, no explanation, just straight to needing me. I gripped the phone tighter. You mean Ethan's in trouble and you took my money to fix it? What's going on, Mom? She hesitated, her breathing uneven. It's not that simple. Ethan got mixed up with some people, bad people. They're after him. And now us, because we can't pay. I stood up, pacing the kitchen. What people? What did he do? Her voice cracked. He was buying pills, Avery painkillers, other stuff. He owed these dealers, and they're not the kind who wait. We used your money to pay part of it, but it wasn't enough. They want another $20,000 or they'll hurt him, maybe all of us. I froze, the words sinking in. Dealers, pills. My brother wasn't just a screw-up. He was tangled with a drug ring. I wanted to scream, but my voice came out cold. So you stole my savings, ran to Tessa's, and now you're calling me to clean up the rest. You didn't even ask Mom. She started crying. We had no choice. They showed up at the house last week, threatened your dad. His heart can't take this. You know, he's been sick. That hit me, the heart pills. I'd found the secret they'd kept. But it didn't erase the anger. You had a choice. You could have called me, told me the truth. Instead, you drained my account and left me a note like it's nothing. My dad's voice cut in, gruff but strained. Avery, we didn't want to drag you into this. These guys aren't bluffing. They know where Tessa lives now. I pinched the bridge of my nose, fighting a headache. How much does Ethan owe? The truth, Dad. He paused. $45,000 total. Your $25,000 covered some, and we scraped together $5,000 ourselves. They still want $20,000 by tomorrow, or it's bad. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was insane. $45,000 for Ethan's drug debt, and they thought I'd just hand over more. Let me get this straight. You want me to give you $20,000 after you took everything I had? My mom jumped in, pleading. Avery, please. They followed us to Tessa's last night. One of them had a knife, said they'd come back tomorrow. My anger faltered, replaced by a chill. A knife. This was real danger, not just Ethan's usual chaos. But I wasn't caving. I'm not sending you a dime until I know everything. Where's Ethan? Why isn't he on this call? Silence. Then my dad muttered, He's here, but he's not in a good state. He feels awful about this. I didn't buy it. Put him on. More silence. Then Ethan's voice, low and slurred. Avery, I'm sorry. I messed up bad. I didn't mean for this to happen. He sounded high, or maybe just broken. Either way, it made my skin crawl. What did you do, Ethan? How did you get into debt with dealers? He mumbled something incoherent about borrowing pills and promising to pay later. I cut him off. You're not making sense. Did you know Mom and Dad took my money? His voice broke. I didn't ask them to. I swear. That was a lie. Ethan always knew how to pull their strings. I hung up my hands, shaking again. I couldn't think straight with their voices in my head. Mom's panic, Dad's guilt, Ethan's excuses. I needed someone who wasn't caught up in this mess. I called Jackson Pierce, a friend from college who'd gone to law school and helped me with contracts before. He picked up on the second ring. Avery, you okay? You sound rough. I laid it all out, the note. The $25,000, the $5,000 before that. The drug dealers my parents call. Jackson didn't interrupt, but when I finished, he was blunt. Your parents committed a legal gray area with that joint account, but it's not theft technically. The real issue is Ethan's debt. Drug dealers don't play by bank rules. If they're threatening your family, you need to be smart, not emotional. I paced the kitchen, his words grounding me. What do I do, Jackson? They want $20,000 by tomorrow. He paused, thinking. First, don't send any money. That's enabling Ethan, and it won't stop the dealers. They'll just ask for more. Second, close that joint account now. I'll send you a form to file with the bank to flag the withdrawals as disputed. It won't get your money back fast, but it's a start. Third, we need to know who these dealers are. That Vince card you found, text me the number. I've got a contact who can run it. I felt a spark of control for the first time all day. Okay, I'll do it. What about my parents? They're freaking out at Tessa's. Jackson's voice softened. They made their bed, Avery. Don't let them guilt you into fixing this alone. If it's as bad as they say, they need to go to the police, but dealers like these often have ways of knowing. Let me dig into it first. I hung up, my mind clearer, but my chest still tight. Jackson was right, throwing money at this wouldn't fix Ethan or protect my parents. I sat at the kitchen table, pulled out the bank statements from Ethan's drawer, started photographing them to send to Jackson. The numbers were worse than I thought: cash withdrawals at odd hours, transfers to accounts with no names, all in Ethan's name, but signed off by my mom. They'd been covering for him for months, maybe longer. I texted Jackson the photos along with the number from Vince's card, then closed the joint account through my banking app. It felt like locking a door I should have bolted years ago. As I finished, my phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. "You're Ethan's sister, right? He owes us. Your parents can't hide forever. Get the money ready by tomorrow or we come for you too." My breath caught. The message had a photo attached to my parents' pickup parked outside Tessa's house, time-stamped an hour ago. I stared at the screen, my heart racing, knowing I couldn't ignore this anymore. I gripped my phone, staring at the text from that unknown number, the photo of my parents' pickup outside Tessa's house, making my heart race. These people, Ethan's dealers, weren't just threatening my family. They knew who I was, and they were coming for me too. I couldn't sit in my parents' kitchen anymore, surrounded by their lies. I threw my laptop, the bank statements, my keys into my bag, locked. The house, jumped into my rental car. The drive to Fort Collins, where Tessa lived, was an hour, and I needed to face my parents' Ethan before things spiraled further. My phone buzzed again as I hit the highway, another unknown number. I ignored it, my hands tight on the wheel, but it kept ringing, relentless. I pulled over at a gas station, my pulse pounding, answered the call. A man's voice, low and rough, came through. "Avery Quinn, this is Vince. Your brother owes me $20,000. Your parents tried to play hero, but they're out of cash. You got the money or we got a problem." My mouth went dry. Vince, the name from that business card in Ethan's room. I forced my voice to stay steady. "I don't have $20,000. You already got $25,000 from my account." He laughed, a cold sound that made my skin crawl. "That was a down payment, sweetheart. Ethan's debt is bigger than you think. Meet me tomorrow noon at the old warehouse on Route 287. Bring the cash or your family's done." I hung up my hands, shaking so bad I dropped the phone. A warehouse, cash. This wasn't some movie, this was my life, and Ethan had dragged us all into his mess. I wanted to call my parents, scream at them for hiding this, but I knew they'd just beg for more money. Instead, I called Dr. Nora Finch, my therapist from Denver, who'd helped me navigate work stress before. It was late, but she answered, her voice calm. "Avery, slow down. Tell me what's happening." I spilled everything: the note, the stolen $25,000, Ethan's drug debt, the threats, Vince's call. She didn't interrupt, but when I finished, she was firm. "You're being pulled into a cycle of manipulation by your family, and now these dealers. You can't fix this alone, and you can't let fear drive you." I leaned against the car, the cold night air hitting my face, her words sinking in. "What do I do, Nora? They're threatening my parents? Maybe me? I can't just walk away." She paused, choosing her words. "You need boundaries, Avery. Helping doesn't mean giving them what they want. Contact your lawyer friend again, consider the police, but don't meet that dealer alone. And when you see your family, don't let them guilt you into more sacrifices." I thanked her, hung up, my mind clearer but still racing. Nora was right. I couldn't keep playing their game. I got back in the car, drove toward Fort Collins, determined to get answers face to face. Halfway there, I called Jackson Pierce again, filling him in on Vince's call. "Avery, do not meet that guy," he said, his voice sharp. "He's not some random dealer. That number you sent me traces to a known crew in Denver. They're bad news. I'm reaching out to my contact at the DA's office, but it'll take time. Stay with your family. Keep them safe, but don't engage with Vince." I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. "Jackson, they're already at Tessa's. What if these guys show up tonight?" He sighed. "Lock the doors, stay alert. I'll text you if I hear anything. And Avery, don't give them money. It won't stop them." I promised to keep him updated. My stomach twisting as I hung up. When I pulled into Tessa's driveway in Fort Collins, it was past midnight. Her house, a small 2-story in a quiet suburb, was lit up, my parents' pickup parked out front. I grabbed my bag, knocked hard on the door. Tessa answered, her face tired but relieved. "Avery, you made it." "They're in the living room. It's been rough." I stepped inside, my eyes locking on my parents. My mom Lila stood up, her hands twisting together, but I held up a hand before she could speak. Don't. I just got a call from Vince's mom. He wants $20,000 tomorrow, says Ethan's debt is bigger than you told me. What else are you hiding? My dad. Owen looked away, his face pale. Ethan wasn't there. I noticed it right away. Where's Ethan? I demanded, my voice rising. Lila's eyes filled with tears. He's upstairs sleeping. He's not himself, Avery. I didn't care about her excuses. You said he was sorry, but he's dodging me. And now I'm getting threats because of his mess. My dad finally spoke, his voice low. We didn't know it was this bad until last week. Those men came to our house, said Ethan owed $45,000. We paid what we could, your money, our savings. But it wasn't enough. I stared at him, my anger flaring. Your savings? You told me you scraped together $5,000. Where's the rest coming from? Lila sank onto the couch, sobbing. We didn't want you to know. We took out a second mortgage on the house months ago before we used your money. It's gone now, all of it. My jaw dropped. A second mortgage. They'd gambled their home, my childhood home, to cover Ethan's debts and never told me. I laughed, a harsh, angry sound. You mortgaged the house, took my savings, and you're still asking for more. Do you even hear yourselves? My dad stood up, his face red. We were protecting our son, Avery. What were we supposed to do, let them kill him? I stepped closer, my voice shaking. You could have told me the truth. You could have stopped enabling him years ago. Instead, you dragged me into this. Tessa, who'd been quiet, stepped between us. Avery, they're scared. Those men showed up here last night, banging on the door. I told them to call the police, but they're too afraid. I turned to her, my mind spinning. And you're okay with this? Letting them hide here, putting you in danger too. Tessa sighed, her eyes soft but firm. They're family, Avery. But you're right, this can't go on. I nodded, my anger mixing with exhaustion. I needed to see Ethan to hear it from him, but my mom grabbed my arm. Please don't wake him. He's been through enough. I pulled away, my voice cold. He's been through enough. I just got a death threat because of him. I started toward the stairs, determined to confront Ethan, when my phone buzzed again, another text from the unknown number. Nice car, Avery. Saw you pull up. Ethan's not at Tessa's. Is he better find him before we do? My blood ran cold. They were watching me, and Ethan wasn't even here. I burst into Tessa's living room, my parents frozen on the couch, their faces pale under the dim lamp. I didn't sit down, didn't waste time on pleasantries. You said Ethan was here upstairs sleeping, I said, my voice sharp, cutting through the heavy air. But he's not. Where is he? What did you do? My mom, Lila, clutched her hands, her eyes darting to my dad Owen, who stared at the floor. Tessa, hovering near the kitchen, spoke first, her voice firm. They need to tell you, Avery. It's bad. My chest tightened, but I kept my gaze on them, waiting. Lila's voice cracked as she spoke. Ethan's gone, Avery. Last night we gave him some money, about $500, to help him stay safe. He promised he'd stay, said he was scared, but this morning his room was empty, his bag gone. I stepped forward, my anger flaring. You gave him money. After everything, the drugs, the dealers, my stolen savings, you handed him cash and let him run. My dad stood up, his face flushed. We thought he'd use it to lay low Avery. We didn't know he'd take off. I laughed, a harsh sound that stung my throat. You never know with Ethan, do you? You keep saving him, and now we're all targets because of it. I grabbed my phone, dialed Ethan's number straight to voicemail. No surprise there. My mom reached for me, tears streaming down her face. Avery, we're sorry, we didn't mean to make this worse. I pulled away, my voice cold. Sorry, doesn't stop the dealers from threatening me, Mom. They're watching us, and Ethan's out there making it worse. My dad sank back onto the couch, his voice low. We're out of money, Avery. The house is mortgaged, our savings are gone. Everything we had went to his debts. We don't know where he is. I stared at them, my anger mixing with disbelief. They'd been played again, and I was paying the price. My phone rang an unknown number and my stomach dropped. I answered, keeping my voice steady. "Who's this?" Vince's voice slithered through, calm but deadly. "Avery. Your brother's a runner, huh? Took your parents' cash and disappeared. You still owe me $20,000 and I'm not patient. Bring it to the warehouse on Route 287 noon tomorrow or we hunt him down and you." I gripped the phone, my heart pounding. "Ethan's not my responsibility. You got $25,000 already." He laughed, the sound chilling. "That kid wasn't just a buyer, Avery. He moved pills for us, thought he could skim a little extra. His debt's way past that. Pay up, or your family's next." The call ended, and I stood there, my hands shaking, my parents' eyes locked on me. I couldn't breathe in that room, their desperation suffocating. I stepped outside, the cold air hitting me, and called Ryder Knox, my coworker in Denver, who'd always seen through my family's mess. "Avery, you sound rough," he said, picking up fast. I told him about Ethan's escape, Vince's call, the fact that Ethan wasn't just a debtor, but part of their operation. Ryder didn't mince words. "You can't go to that warehouse, Avery. It's a setup. I'll call my PI friend, see if he can track Ethan. Send me any details, places he might go, people he knows." I nodded, though he couldn't see me, my voice low. "Mom and Dad mentioned a friend, Jake, in Denver and a motel on Colfax Avenue. I'll text you." He promised to get moving, and I felt a flicker of hope. I called Jackson Pierce next, my lawyer friend, filling him in on Vince's call, Ethan's role with the dealers. "Avery, this changes things." Jackson said, his voice tight. "If Ethan was working for them, he's in deeper than we thought. My contact at the DA's office says this crew's been on their radar for months. I'm setting up a meeting with a detective tonight, off the record. You need to be there, but stay away from that warehouse." I leaned against my car, my mind racing. "Jackson, what if they find Ethan first? They're not bluffing." He sighed. "I'm working on it. Send me any new messages from Vince and don't do anything alone." I agreed, my resolve hardening as I hung up. Back inside, Tessa handed me a glass of water, her eyes worried. "Avery, what's next?" I didn't sit down, my energy too raw. "I'm going to Denver to find Ethan. Mom, Dad, any other places he might be. People he trusts?" Lila wiped her eyes, her voice shaky. "There's Jake Torres, a guy he met at a bar on Colfax. They were close before things got bad." My dad added, "That motel on Colfax, he stayed there last year when he got kicked out of his apartment." I nodded, memorizing it. "Anything else?" Tessa spoke up. "Avery, you can't go alone. Those men are dangerous." I looked at her, my voice firm. "I'm not alone. I've got people helping me, but I can't stay here waiting for Ethan to fix this." I drove to Denver, my phone buzzing with a text from Ryder. "Met Jake at a bar on Colfax. He says Ethan was there last night looking scared, asking for a place to crash. Jake kicked him out. Try the motel." I called Jake's number, which Ryder sent, and he picked up, his voice wary. "Yeah, Ethan was here, messed up, talking about owing money to some guys. I told him to leave. I don't want trouble." I pressed him, my voice sharp. "Where did he go, Jake?" "He's my brother." He hesitated. "Said something about a friend's place near the motel, some guy named Max. That's all I know." I thanked him. Hung up, my heart racing, knowing Ethan was close but slipping away. As I pulled into the motel parking lot, my phone buzzed again. Another text from Vince's number. "Ethan's running out of time, Avery. We know you're in Denver. Bring the money or we take him and you out." A photo attached showed Ethan bruised, sitting in a dark room, his eyes wide with fear. I sped toward the motel on Colfax Avenue, my phone screen still glowing with Vince's text. That photo of Ethan, bruised, scared, trapped, in some dark room, burning in my mind. I couldn't shake the image, but I wasn't letting fear stop me. Ryder's text about Jake's tip saying Ethan might be at this motel was my only lead, and I had to find him before Vince's crew did something worse. I parked in the motel's lot, the neon sign flickering above, grabbed my phone, called Ryder. "I'm here." I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Jake's sure Ethan was headed this way. Ryder's voice was tense. Yeah, but be careful, Avery. I'm 10 minutes out and I've got my PI friend with me. Wait for us. I couldn't wait, not with Ethan's life on the line. I stepped out, scanned the lot, spotted a black SUV parked near the back, 2 guys inside watching me. My stomach twisted, but I kept moving, heading toward the motel office. The clerk, a bored guy in his 20s, barely looked up. Looking for someone, I said, sliding him Ethan's photo from my phone. Seen him. He squinted, shrugged. Maybe room 12 guy like that checked in last night, looked rough. I thanked him, my hand shaking as I texted Ryder the room number, then headed down the hallway, my sneakers silent on the worn carpet. At room 12, I knocked, my heart pounding. No answer. I tried again, louder, then heard a muffled voice, Ethan's. Who's there? I leaned close to the door, my voice low. It's Avery. Open the door now. The lock clicked, and there he was, pale eyes bloodshot, a fresh bruise on his cheek. He pulled me inside, slammed the door, his voice frantic. Avery, you shouldn't be here. They're coming, Vince's guys. They grabbed me last night. Let me go to get the money, but I don't have it. I grabbed his shoulders, my anger surging. You ran from Tessa's, took Mom and Dad's cash, and now I'm here cleaning up your mess again. What did you do, Ethan? He sank onto the bed, his hands shaking. I didn't just buy pills, Avery. They made me move them, deliver packages, collect cash. I thought I could make extra, pay them off, but I messed up, took some for myself. That's why they want $45,000. I stared at him, my jaw tight, his words hitting like a slap. You worked for them, a cartel, and you dragged us all into this. He looked away, his voice breaking. I didn't mean to. They threatened. Mom and Dad said they'd kill me if I didn't cooperate. I'm sorry, Avery. I wanted to scream, but I didn't have time. My phone buzzed. Vince. I answered, my voice cold. I'm with Ethan. What do you want? Vince's tone was sharp. You're at the motel, good. Bring $20,000 to the lot in 10 minutes, or my guys take you both out. No cops, no tricks. I hung up, my mind racing, knowing I couldn't pay, but couldn't run either. I called Jackson Pierce, my hands trembling. Vince wants the money. Now Jackson. I'm at the motel with Ethan. What do I do? Jackson's voice was urgent. I'm with Detective Carla Ruiz, 5 minutes away. Stall Vince, keep Ethan safe. Don't go to the lot. We're setting up a sting, they've been tracking this crew for weeks. I nodded, my resolve hardening, and turned to Ethan. Stay here, lock the door. I'm handling this. I stepped outside, Ryder pulling into the lot with his PI friend waving me over. Avery, get in the car, he said, but I shook my head. Vince is coming. I need to face him, buy time for the detective. Ryder grabbed my arm, his voice low. This is crazy, you're not a cop. I pulled free, my voice firm. I'm not letting Ethan die, but I'm not giving in either. Before he could argue, the black SUV rolled up, Vince stepping out, a smirk on his face. Avery Quinn, brave one, huh? Where's my money? I stood my ground, my heart pounding. I don't have it, Vince. Ethan's out. He's not your pawn anymore. Walk away. He laughed, stepping closer. You don't get it. He's ours until the debt's paid, and now you're in this too. Before he could move, sirens blared, police cars flooding the lot, Detective Ruiz shouting through a megaphone. Vince Delgado, hands up, you're surrounded. Vince's smirk vanished, his hands raising as officers swarmed, cuffing him and his guys. I exhaled, my legs weak. Ryder pulling me back as Ethan stumbled out of the room, wide-eyed. Detective Ruiz approached, her voice calm. Avery, we've got Vince, but Ethan's not clear yet. He needs to cooperate, testify against the crew. I nodded, my voice steady. He will, or he's on his own. Back at my apartment in Denver the next day, I called my parents, my voice flat. Ethan's safe, but he's in custody, talking to the police. I'm done bailing him out, and you need to stop too. Lila cried, but my dad's voice was quiet. We're sorry, Avery. We didn't know how to fix him. I cut them off, my tone firm. It's not your job to fix him, and it's not mine. He's getting help, but I'm not your bank anymore. I hung up my chest lighter, the weight of their expectations gone. I called Dr. Nora Finch, my therapist, telling her everything. She listened, then said, "You've set boundaries, Avery. That's strength, not selfishness." I nodded, a calm settling over me, knowing I'd reclaimed my life. Ethan went into a rehab program, part of his deal with the DA, and my parents started therapy, trying to break their cycle of enabling. I got some of my $25,000 back through a settlement Jackson arranged, but the rest was gone. It didn't matter, I was building something new, a life on my terms. That Christmas, I spent it with Ryder and Kylie, laughing over takeout. No family drama, just peace. The scars from Ethan's mess, my parents' betrayal, were still there, but they'd made me stronger, clearer about who I am. If you've been through family chaos like this, drop your story in the comments. How did you handle it? Hit that like button if this hit home, and subscribe for more real-life stories about navigating tough relationships. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.